Today we're making the stitches you should know on the go. These are stitches covered in the quick lace scarf. We've got the written pattern and the chart. I'm going to cover the specific rows and abbreviations that you need to know to make this beautiful quick lace scarf in one ball of yarn. That's right, join me now. Welcome to Good Knit Kisses. We're all about helping you stitch your love and love your stitches. I'm excited to bring to you the Quick Lace Scarf Reference Guide. This is a video guide in the basic stitches that you're going to need in here with increases and decreases and yarn overs to make all this lacy goodness. It will cover stitches as a reference, so we're going to go over the stitches maybe a few times on specific rows, and I'll give you a guide after we do the specific stitches to kind of go over how you're going to read the chart and the pattern. But in the beginning, we're going to cover those stitches and dive right in. So grab your supplies, click the link below to get all that goodness, and I will see you soon. We're going to cover row 1 on the chart. It's also written on the pattern, and this is just for the lace stitch chart. You have 19 stitches on your needles, and we're going to cover the knit stitch and the purl stitch very quickly, and then we'll start working on a yarn over, which is covered down here, and then a left leaning decrease. See how it leans to the left? That is a slip slip knit. So we're going to cover these slower, the slip slip knit and the yarn over. And then we'll jump over to the knit 2 together. We'll cover this row. Let's look at it on our knitting. Now what you're seeing here is 2 repeats of this chart. You see how it has this X shape? Right, so it does that right here. It's this X shape, and it gets us set up so that we can start making all these diamonds. When you do them end on end, this middle part becomes a diamond. So we're working on this first row down here to begin the setup for that. This is right after cast on and a seed stitch border. Then we're going to have borders on the left and right and have our lace in between. So the chart covers the borders on the right and left here, and then the stitch pattern in between. Our knitting is 19 stitches wide. The first 3 stitches and last 3 stitches are our seed stitch, which you can see on the chart. For our first stitch, we're going to knit. So you should already know how to do this. If not, go click on that link below. Insert your needle into that first stitch, yarn over, pull the stitch through, and let the old one drop off. Okay, and then you're going to purl, put the yarn forward, put the needle through the front leg of that stitch, yarn over the needle, and push it on through to the back to get that loop. And of course I do have slower videos on that. Then we're going to knit the next stitch, and then I have a stitch marker, and that's just showing me that I'm done with my seed stitch border, and I have one at the end to show me that I need to start my seed stitch border. On the right side, the seed stitch always starts knit, purl, knit, and then it ends in knit, purl, knit. So it's the same on both sides. All right, the first stitch in our chart is a knit, so we've got that. Now we want to yarn over, and that's an actual stitch here, and it creates an open part of the lace work. So yarn over simply just takes the yarn and puts it between the 2 needles and places it forward. Then you move the yarn to the back, and that creates one new increase stitch. If we needed to purl, we would just continue winding it around to bring the yarn all the way forward so you wouldn't lose that yarn over. Today we're just keeping it in the back. So simply put your yarn in between the stitches, lay it forward, and bring it around on top of your needle. The next stitch is slip slip knit. That is a left leaning decrease. You're going to slip the stitch knitwise. This first stitch, just slip it just as if you're going to knit, and then do it again just like it says, slip it again. So slip slip knit, slip it that way onto your right needle, and now you have these 2 stitches on your right needle. You're going to put your old needle back through the front leg of these stitches, and then with the back needle we're going to yarn over and pull through a stitch. So we yarn over with our working yarn and pull through a new stitch. Let the old ones fall off, and you now have a left leaning decrease, an SSK, or slip slip knit. They're all the same thing. So now we move on to the next section, and we're going to do a knit 2 together. And don't worry, we're going to cover this again in another row. Knit 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, And this time we have the yarn over second. So we're going to knit 2 together. These 2 stitches here are getting knit together. So go in knitwise into the second one and then through that first one. So that gets put in together. Yarn over and pull through a stitch. And that makes the stitches lean to the right. That's a K2 tog or knit 2 together. And we just need a yarn over. So put that yarn forward and bring around again, and you've got your yarn over on your stitch. Then knit the next stitch that locks in that yarn over, and then complete your seed stitch. You just slip that stitch marker, knit, purl, and knit. So now let's do the wrong side row, which are all the same on this one. This is a row 2. So we're going to be working this row here. We're going to knit, purl, knit for the seed stitch. And then slip our stitch marker, yarn forward, and purl to the stitch marker. And you'll have 13 stitches in between. Pause your video as you need for any of this tutorial. And these purl stitches will lock in those yarn overs. Slip the stitch marker and do a seed stitch border. Knit, purl, knit. So now we're going to move on to the next row that I think you need to learn how to do, and that's row 9. It's right here where everything comes together. And that is on here on our chart. It's right here. That's going to work 2 slip slip knits, then an SK2P, which is slip knit 2 together, pass the slip stitch over, and then we've got 2 knit 2 togethers. So go ahead and work on rows 3 through 8 and meet me back up for row 9 to see that. Or you can just continue playing and see these rows, how to specifically do them before you dive into the project. All right, so I'm up to row 9, and you can see how I've been decreasing and moving my yarn overs more inward. And now I want to put these 3 stitches in the middle, just like these. So I'm going to cover that in this row. But first, we're going to do a couple of yarn overs and SSKs to repeat what we did on row 1 and our other rows. And then you see that little slash to the left. That looks like an SSK, but it's actually the slip 1, knit 2 together, and then pass the slip stitch over, and that's where we get the 3 to 1 decrease, and then we'll do some more knit 2s together. So let's grab our needles here and work the beginning, which is the seed, knit, purl, knit, and pass that slip stitch marker. We're going to knit 1 and then yarn over, slip slip knit. So we slip knitwise, slip 1 knitwise, knit these 2 stitches together. We're going to put our needle through the front leg of those stitches and knit through the back loop. And we've got slip slip knit. We'll do that again. Yarn over, slip 1, slip 2, and work those 2 stitches together through the back loop. Okay, and now we're going to yarn over and do an SK2P. So we are working with 3 stitches here, 1, 2, 3, and we're going to slip 1 knitwise, and then the next 2 they're going to knit together. All right, and now we want to go back to that slip stitch and pass it over the ones we just did. So pass the slip stitch over, PSSO, and that makes 3 stitches go down to 1. Add in another yarn over, and now you're back to 3 stitches. So we have a yarn over and then the SK2P, and then the yarn over, and that makes up for those 3 that we originally had. So our stitch count doesn't change on the row. And then the next 2 stitches are knit over, or knit 2 together, and then yarn over, and then we have knit 2 together, and then yarn over, and knit 1. That finishes out that lace stitch pattern. Slide your stitch marker, and knit, purl, knit for the seed stitch border. And that will wrap up row 9. All right, so I think that you have all you need to know on learning those stitches. Let's go over some things in the pattern. So the last row that you would need to know on here would be row 19, and that one's handled a little bit different. And as you've seen, you've been increasing some extra we've been having some extra yarn overs in here and knit 2 togethers and everything. When you go on to row 11, you'll flip-flop these stitches where you had a lot of slip knits on the right-hand side over here, and then you did the knit 2 togethers, and you've got left-leaning decreases and right-leaning decreases. Now they're going to flip-flop on you, and now you work with knit 2 togethers first and then the slip knit, okay? So when you get to row 19, you're actually adding in 1 more, and you will be knitting 1 right after that stitch marker. Then you're going to knit 2 together, yarn over twice, so 1, 2, and then knit 1. And then you'll have 3 of the yarn over slip knit together, all together here. So 1, 2, 3. If you were running this in a pattern side by side for multiple lace stitch, then these 3 stitches will be worked a little bit differently, but we're not going to be doing that today. So let's go over this pattern from the beginning and give you a good idea of what it's going to be like working this from the beginning. All right, so you're going to cast on 19 stitches using long tail cast on, or you can do the knitted cast on, and then you begin by making a seed stitch. Okay, so you're knitting, purling all the way across with the knit at the end, and then rows 2 through 5 are repeating that. So you have 5 rows of seed stitch. Then you work one of the wrong side rows, which we already covered in the video, which is a row 2. That was the working the seed stitch and then purling across and working the seed stitch again. So basically you're setting that up in row 6. That's where you put on those stitch markers right here. So you just place the markers right here. And then of course we work the row 1, work all your even rows the same way. And then rows 3 through 19, they're really easy to see in the stitch chart here. So that is on page 4. And then let's go over to the very last page of the written pattern, and that is repeating rows 1 through 20 12 times more. So don't forget that 20th row, because it's going to frame out your knitting, especially in the end. So when you're totally done with it, it will set it off the end, just like this one is. And the yarn overs would be way too close to the border. So when you get to the end to complete, you are going to want to have that 20th row there. And then you're going to finish off with the seed stitch border. You're actually just working 4 rows this time and then binding off. Be sure and weave in your ends and actually block your lace, because lace work doesn't have, it doesn't always lay entirely flat, and it may not show all those beautiful yarn over stitches until it is completely blocked out. So I recommend pinning and blocking it with it wet. I've got a video on how to do that very easily. You can steam block. I don't have a video on that, but you want to make sure that your yarn will be able to take it and then you don't kill your fabric. So be sure and research that before you do it. But check out my blocking video on that. I hope you enjoyed this video style today. Be sure and comment and let us know what you think about it, and enjoy making your quick lace scarf. And if you want to see it on the knitting loom, if you're just curious or have a friend who loom knits, we've got the pattern on there for you. So the free pattern is on our blog. Be sure and go to that link below. Will you please share this video today? And if you like what you saw, hit that subscribe button and the bell icon for videos every Friday. Have a great day, and happy knitting and crochet. Bye, everyone. Thanks for joining us today, where we help you stitch your love and love your stitches. See you again soon.